Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see everybody's faces, and some of you hopefully will turn on your camera soon. If not, that is okay. My name is Letitia Lebrecq, and I am the Executive Director of NAMI Valley of the Sun. And I would like to welcome you to the 2022 NAMI Valley of the Sun Rise and Thrive Spring Event. In an abundance of caution, and so that everybody could attend this event, we decided months and months ago that this would be held virtually. And we're hoping that this is our last big virtual event and that we have great hopes for the rest of our activities for 2022 being live and in person, where we can be with you, connect with you, and have it feel a little bit more like that NAMI community. In fact, our first in-person big event that will be coming up is our NAMI Walk, and that is scheduled for the fall, October 15th to be exact. And that will absolutely be in person. And so look out for details coming your way on that. We have an exciting program for you scheduled, and we hope that you're able to stay with us for the full 45 minutes today. We kept it short because we know everybody's time is precious, but we have we've jam-packed it with a lot of good information. So the theme of this year's event, we talked about it for quite some time, and we went with Rise and Thrive. And Rise and Thrive is giving honor to the 1 in 5 of us, which is more likely the 1 in 3 of us now after the pandemic, that are living with a mental health condition and that struggle with its symptoms, sometimes on a daily basis. We believe that it brings hope to those around them. We hope that it illuminates that recovery is possible. And NAMI Valley of the Sun is proud to support those individuals and their families in that ongoing effort to reduce stigma and provide just a bit of what it takes to rise and thrive each day, to make that decision that regardless if it's going to be a good day or not, you're going to get up and you're going to try again. And a lot of us are at that point where not all the days are good in a row. We have all been through such a traumatic time and we've all handled it differently, but we chose to get up. You all chose to be here this morning, and you are rising and you are thriving to help us rise and thrive. So as a reminder or as a gesture, or even if you wanted to honor somebody you love, we have actually mailed out to each one of you a seeded piece of paper that is meant to be planted. And it could be planted in your backyard. It could be planted on a small pot on your desk. And we want you to use that as a reminder that you are rising and thriving every day. And just a little token to remember the NAMI Valley of the Sun is always here for you. And hopefully you can kind of see that in action. So NAMI also had, we did a lot of rising and a lot of thriving in 2021. And I think that we ended up doing a really good job despite a lot of what was happening during the last couple of years. So just a couple highlights. We had over 170 individual classes and support groups that took place in 2021. We had 830 people who attended a family support group, over 1,000 people who attended a connection support group. We had 1,500 individuals who heard a story of In Our Own Voice. And overall, about 5,000 individuals took place or heard some supportive note about NAMI Valley of the Sun. And not to mention, we held a virtual walk in 2021, a virtual walk / car parade. And that is not an easy thing to do. But we had 500 registrants. We had several hundred people attend the car parade. I believe it's on our YouTube channel. It's amazing if you want to see it. It was a lot of fun. And last but not least, our volunteers, they logged thousands of hours to see that this happened. This does not happen because of myself, my staff, Julia, my staff, Leanne, or even the board members. It really happens because these volunteers give up their time, and we are eternally grateful for that. So I don't tell you these numbers so that you can remember our data, or I can speak from a spreadsheet, or that you can tell me exactly how many people we touched, but for you to know that this programming would not be possible if it weren't for the generosity of our community, our donors, our advocates, our NAMI family, And I really want to thank all of you for making that possible. It truly is the key that turns the vehicle on and allows us to produce really good programming for people who need it and need the support. So thank you and welcome. And now I have the pleasure of introducing our very own Elisa Randall, who is our new board president for NAMI Valley of the Sun.
Thank you, Letitia. I want to make sure you can hear me. You never know these days. Good morning, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today, even in a virtual environment. It means so much to us to have you all here today, taking out time from your busy schedules to support this organization and to come together to improve the quality of life for people with mental health needs, their families through support, education, and advocacy. It could not be a better time considering all that is happening in the world and all the conversation we as a nation are finally having about mental health needs. NAMI Valley of the Sun is the Maricopa County affiliate of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization. NAMI is dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness and advocates for access to services, treatment, support, and research. We are steadfast in our commitment to raising awareness, fighting stigma, and building a community of hope for all of those in need. NAMI Valley of the Sun provides education programs and support groups at no cost throughout Maricopa County. So all of those items that Letitia just spoke about are all at no cost. And we provide family programs, peer programs, programs for schools, for veterans and their families, and support groups, again, all at no cost. I would like to acknowledge our dedicated board of directors who are all here this morning, bright and early, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you so much. And thank all of our passionate volunteers who, along with our small but mighty staff, truly keep this wheel turning. I am impressed every single day with this organization and the staff and the volunteers and our lovely board. They are the foundation of everything that we do. A special shout out to all of those who dedicated so much time to make this virtual program today possible. I'm going to tell you from experience, it is not easy. So thank you to Letitia, Leanne, Julia, and two of our board members, Christine and Jennifer. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge all of those who work in behavioral health who have joined us this morning. It has not been that long for me to serve in the provider world, and I truly appreciate your focus and dedication to this work. Thank you for your service. From the bottom of my heart, we know how much it takes from you to do so. We would like to thank all of our sponsors as well, who made this event possible. We recognize how difficult things are right now with funding and opportunities to support, but those of you that did support us, we greatly appreciate it. This year's sponsors included Community Connections Consulting, Mercy Care, Arizona, Neurocrine, Continental, and CarMax. So now it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Greg Dechary. Greg is the National Youth Empowerment Director for Magellan Health, a filmmaker and a mental health advocate who in 2008 developed Magellan's My Life program, which is one of the nation's leading programs for youth who experience mental health, substance use, and/or foster care related challenges. Greg and My Life Youth have made over 60 youth mental health related presentations to more than 7,000 people and have produced 25 MyFest youth festivals in 5 states to reduce stigma, raise awareness about mental health and other issues facing our youth. Greg is also the founder of Smile Style Entertainment, which produces mental health related documentary films, including the 2018 award-winning film Suicide: The Ripple Effect, and a new documentary feature, My Ascension, which focuses on youth suicide prevention and will air nationally on PBS in September. In recognition of his work, Greg was awarded Mental Health America's top honor, the Clifford Beers Award in 2019, a 2022 Media Award from the American College of Neuropsychopharmacology, a SAMHSA Voice Award, the Howie the Harp Award for Advocacy in the Arts, a National Council Reintegration Award, and an award from the National Federation of Families for Children's Mental Health. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Greg.
Wow. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And thanks for the opportunity to come back to Arizona. It's been a couple of years, or well, since pre-pandemic, and even though it's virtually, it's nice to see a lot of Arizona faces. A few that I recognize from my days there. And thank you to Jennifer, who recommended me for this engagement, and Letitia, who we go back and reminded her of a connection we had, which I'll tell a little bit of my story when I get into it. But yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all being here. And it's an honor to anytime to be a part of a NAMI event, and particularly a NAMI Valley of the Sun event, because it's definitely a connection, and really how my whole recovery journey started in Arizona, even though I'm actually from Louisiana, and that's where I'm now, Baton Rouge. So so I guess I'll kind of start there. I was born in Baton Rouge. I lived here till I was 10. My parents divorced when I was, about 3 years old. My dad wasn't around much. It was, kind of one of those things where, he'd often say, "Hey, I'll be by on Saturday to pick you up," and not show up, not call, and that sort of thing. And so, I say that I don't think that was necessarily the cause to my mental health and substance use issues, which would develop, but it is a form of trauma. And I think, a lot of times we might think of trauma as something that just happens to people in war, or people, who maybe are shot or something like that. But I think, really looking at it and taking the approach that, a lot of our young people experience trauma in various different forms that often manifest itself in, mental health symptoms, or even mental health, issues down the line. But my mom, did a great job raising me here in Baton Rouge. And when I was, 15, moved to New Orleans. And, New Orleans, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's an interesting place, and definitely revolves a lot around drinking and partying. And that was the case when I was, in high school. So when I was 15 in high school, back then, little old. So it's before the DMVs, Department of Motor Vehicles, were all computerized, and they had everything on computers, which they didn't then. So I got was a somewhat common practice. I got a senior at school's birth certificate, and I went down to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and I told them I lost my license, and they were kind enough to take a picture of me and gave me a real state of Louisiana ID that said I was 18 years old, because that was the drinking age at the time, and that my name was Diego Martinez. And so that was, kind of off to the races. And even before then, there wasn't too much, high stress from people selling alcohol for IDs. But in this case, it was, I had a real ID, and it was really a high school bar scene. And so that's where really my, substance use started. And, and even before then, but, very regularly when I was 15. And, I recently came across a study that was talking about the relation to when a young person starts using alcohol, and the likelihood that they develop a substance use issue in the future. And it was really, even working in the field for so long, it was really kind of, startling. So when you start drinking at, 12, 13, it's just really, really high likelihood that you're, going to be, develop a substance use issue. And similarly, when you're, 13, 14, 15, and it really, kind of tapers down the older that you can, the older that you have that first, drinking experience. But, my mom was always, encouraged me, don't do drugs, be a good kid. And to a large degree, I was. And so I, had been offered marijuana a few times, and was like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to do that. That's, bad. And then eventually tried marijuana, and then, liked it, and started doing that regularly, and then started, trying other harder drugs, which I said I never would. And it was just, kind of the group of friends that I had, which was pretty, common. That's what we, did on the weekends and during the summer, is, drank and got high, and, didn't have any significant consequences at that point. But I had the opportunity. My mom had remarried to, a great man, and who was very successful. And, with his generosity, I was able to come out to Arizona to Arizona State to go to college. And, that's when really the drug and alcohol really escalated. I lived in the dorms. Y'all might be familiar with Manzanita over there on over there on University. And I mean, it was on, that's what everybody did. I was, away from home, my couple down the hall, we made a huge like hookah bong out of a big, water container, the drinking, and all that. And, that's pretty much when I became an all day, every day marijuana smoker. And, started using other drugs and, really took for granted the opportunity, that I was being provided to get an education, and was more concerned with, with partying and doing that sort of thing. And, it was really when I got, I had always stayed away from cocaine, and then I, tried that my freshman year. And I don't know that I even really liked it so much, but it became a habit. And as the years would go on, I would do it more and more. But was then that I really saw a lot of kind of my personality change. I'd be doing that with a small kind of group of people. And, there's this kind of thing that comes over you from doing that, where you kind of get self-conscious and can't, talk. And, it's just geeked out. We would call that. So anyway, I managed to graduate, from school. And, to be honest, because, at least the first few years, was able to, cheat, for lack of a better word, scheme, have people write papers, have, we, get the test beforehand and things like that. My latter years, I kind of found, passion and interest in communications and stuff I was doing. So focused a little more, but, was still doing a lot of drugs. So, I'd always dreamed of working in film and entertainment, and I had the opportunity to, again, with my mom and stepdad's help, to go out to Los Angeles to pursue my dream of working in mental health, or working in film and entertainment. And when I got there, I didn't know what it was at the time, but, would know subsequently that it was, depression and kind of anxiety. And I went from New Orleans, where everybody's real, friendly. You talk to people on the street, Arizona State, which was, in Arizona in general, it's kind of a tight community. So everybody's real friendly. And then you go to LA, and it's just like, you pass somebody on the street and you say, hey, how you doing? And they're like, what do you want from me? Kind of thing. So that was, weighed on it as well. But, I was having some decent success working in entertainment, working on a variety of like music videos and shows for like MTV and a couple of movies. And, I remember just that feeling of like, kind of nothing made me happy, nothing made me sad, this kind of numbness. I even remember seeing commercials on TV for depression and thinking, I wonder, could that be it? Then I even mentioned it to my friend one time. We were watching TV together, and he's like, "You're not depressed." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess you're right." But about 2.5 years in, I was directing a music video for a Christian rap group that was part of this ministry, Set Free Ministries. And, it was my first music video. It was 35 millimeter. We were getting everything donated, but I was working and sleeping less and less. Still, in this period, the cocaine had stopped, but I was still an all day, everyday marijuana smoker. And it was really high octane, marijuana at that time. And started to just kind of, trip out, so to speak. I started kind of hearing messages and music. I was really into like Martin Luther King. So I was like praying to Martin Luther King and like, so kind of long story short of it, I ended up having this, what was later described as a manic episode, where I, went to the bank machine. I took out all the money I had, which was a couple $100s. I started giving it away on the street. Bought a bunch of CDs, the same CD. And I was kind of following the sun, and heading initially to the church that I had been involved with doing the music video. Then I, thought I was going to Long Beach, and was kind of giving away things along the way, and kind of hearing these, messages. And then eventually it was like, okay, you've given me everything, now give me your clothes. And I was very, modest at the time, still am, but it was just like this, kind of overwhelming thing. So I took off my clothes and ended up getting in the middle of the street. And because of my senses were all heightened, people were honking, but it was sounding like music to me. So I was like dancing, down the middle of the street. And then I come around this corner, and there's this whole group of, cops, a few cop cars, and they're all kind of standing around. They're like looking at me, like laughing, like, hey, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to see the Lord. And they're like, oh, the Lord. They're like, well, where's the Lord? And I'm like, Long Beach. And they're like, okay, come on, we'll take you. And they gave me a paper jumpsuit, and they did not take me to Long Beach. They took me to the substation, where I spent the night, and then got out, and ended up making my way home to the apartment I was in. By this time, my mom had flown out from Louisiana. My girlfriend at the time was there, and essentially I was thinking the world was coming to an end, like, right then, and that all these dead people were coming back, to life and coming over to my apartment to hang out. And, they ended up calling and getting me, petitioned and taken to the hospital. And that was the first hospitalization at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, where they diagnosed me with being bipolar, with co-occurring substance use disorder. And they told me that if I didn't quit doing drugs and alcohol, and if I, didn't take these medications, that I would keep ending up in places like that. And, for whatever reasons, didn't really heed that warning. The marijuana was something that I could never see giving up. And, so for the next number of years, I was in and out of mental hospitals, jails, halfway houses. I had came back to Arizona in 2002. So I was in Louisiana. I'd gone through another treatment program. I'd been back was in California. I'd made it back to New Orleans, and I ended up being picked up for trespassing at the fairgrounds in New Orleans. And I was taken to jail, and I had done some other, stuff, and they had put a psychiatric hold on me. So I was in the psych tier for like for a month of Orleans Parish Prison. And so I eventually got out, and was looking for some place to go. And my mom had found out kind of about a place in Arizona called Mandalay Village that had just opened, which is a recovery house, sober living, but that had some dual diagnosis things. And I moved back out there, and, still at that point wasn't willing to do what I needed to do to take care of myself. And you would think, after all that, I eventually would. And a lot of times in those episodes, I would have these really, manic episodes. I'd get thrown in the hospital. I'd get, the only way I'd come down is with heavy doses of, tranquilizers. And so, and then I'd be in this real dark, depression. Eventually, I, after a couple more kind of hospitalizations in Arizona, the last one, so I had a job, I had gotten an apartment again. I was doing fairly well, but still with that depression, I'd take a little bit less medication. And then, then I started smoking, weed again. And this time I got a bottle of rum, and then I decided I was going to paint my apartment with like acrylic paints. And so I finger painted my whole like living room of the apartment with all this psychotic stuff that seemed to make sense at the time. Went into the hospital for a couple weeks, and then came out, and I'm sitting in this, psychotically painted apartment. I'm about to get evicted and from some other stuff. And I, had lost my job, and I'm just sitting there, how did I do this again? And I, not really religious, at all, but I hit my knees and was, God, please help me. God, please help me. And what came crystal clear and kind of a, voice or vision, or however hard to describe, but was help yourself. And that just like kind of, made me smile, because one, it let me know something was there, but two, it really registered because, God through people had been trying to help me, for a long time, but I was unwilling to do what I needed to do to help myself. And so around that time, I was able to commit to 12-step recovery. I've been introduced to it for quite a while before, and things started to change around. And a lot of that was really that foundation in 12-step recovery, is that we get better by helping other people get better, and lots of opportunities to like serve and be of service. I was on disability from, before I got to Arizona, mental health disability. And in a couple of instances, once in a hospital, I'd come across a peer support specialist. And then also I had gotten a misdemeanor charge and had a jail diversion program. There was also a peer support specialist. And so I thought, hey, that might be something to do to like supplement my my disability, because I could work part-time. And so I enrolled with vocational rehab, and Letitia was one of the supervisors there, the supervisor there, and went through this peer training program. And that was in 2004. And because I had a degree, I was able to get hired at that agency, RRR, and as an employment specialist, and I ended up running that peer training program for a few years. And then I started at Magellan, which in 2007. And for them, I started a youth program called My Life, which we started in Arizona and was, extremely successful. But it's a free youth program for youth who experience like mental health, substance use, foster care. Done a bunch of events with that. We started doing this annual youth festival, which was down at Tempe Beach Park, which was, very, very successful. We did days at the Capitol, all of that was, result of finally getting willing to work on my recovery, but also having, opportunities like the 12 steps, having opportunities like vocational rehab to get some skills and do this, and really the whole field of peer support. And, it's been a great ride at Magellan with everything so long. So I started the program in Arizona and then started replicating it other places. So, started with Pennsylvania and with then Louisiana and Florida. So I'd get to travel to all these different communities and, work with them to start up these, youth groups, and get to work with so many amazing young people that it was just such a great experience. So with all that, I, my life started to really, change. And when it's, from a guy who was on disability to having had the same job for almost 15 years is pretty miraculous. I've had trials and tribulations, in there, and even hospitalizations within that, time, but luckily with a support system and, supportive employer, that's, I've been able to, to persevere and overcome those challenges. But with, my dream of working in film, and my first few Manic episodes were all around film projects, because I would get elevated and then I would just go off the rails. So that dream was pretty much crushed and didn't seem, a possibility at all. And kind of surrendered to the, fact of just kind of led to working in the mental health field. And then when I started, the youth group, I got a camera and started doing videos with them. And then a number of years later, it was about 6 years later, 6 years ago, started working with the guy, Kevin Hines, to do the film Suicide, the Ripple Effect, which was very, successful. And kind of in the lead up to that, connected with this young woman, Emma, who is a suicide attempt survivor who, attempted suicide when she was 16 by gunshot and is paralyzed and from it, but kind of found God and a passion to help others in that. And so, that was my goal for quite a while, is being able to kind of blend those two things, blend my experience working with mental health and helping young people, and take that to a broader, kind of audience with the hopes of reaching more people. And, a big piece of everything I do, is really around community and bringing people together, because I think there's so many opportunities out there. A lot of times we talk about, lack of resources, which is definitely a thing, but then there's also lack of knowledge of resources and lack of support of resources that are out there. And so, I mean, that's why, such a big fan of the work that Nomi Valley of the Sun does and all the various different kind of programs. When my issues started happening, my mom was really at a loss of what to do. There was not like a, family to family program. There wasn't these, in your own voices, and maybe they existed, but not, not in my area, and they weren't very readily available. So, and just all the kind of, awareness piece, because I think one of the big things is just letting people know that it's okay to ask for help. But if you get to somebody to a point of asking for help, you need to actually have the resources and things for them to get involved with and actually get the help. And so that's what's so cool what NAMI's doing. And so just to wrap up, I moved back to Baton Rouge 6 years ago after having a daughter who is 6 now, or 6.5, and named Gracie. And so she's amazing. And it's just one of those real gifts of recovery, and just, letting people know, kind of from however, deep of the depths you come, or however the deep of depths that a loved one of yours might be experiencing with their mental health challenges, that, recovery is possible. And, just to kind of keep that hope. My recovery journey didn't really start till I was, early 30s. So just, keep hope alive, and know that, it takes work by the individual. It takes support system, and it takes organizations like NAMI Valley of the, Sun to be there and help people, pick up the pieces, and to also just kind of advance to those next levels. So thanks so much for the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate it.
Greg, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your journey, your experiences. I can tell from the chat that your story has resonated with so many people, whether it's themselves or a family member. So that was really important, and we thank you. Thank you. Again, thank you to all our sponsors, and I'll take the time to thank you for everyone who's donated. I'm excited to report that we have thus far on all our virtual platforms raised about $13,000, and our goal for today, this morning, was to raise an additional $2,000. And so we're hoping that you can please support us in achieving our fundraising goal that will allow us to expand our programming to reach hundreds of more individuals within the community. So with that, let me do a quick check-in with Julia, who's been manning our chat feature, to see if we've had any chat donations. I've seen a few come through. Julia, what do you
It looks like, yes, we have donations from Marilyn Miller, Jean Stout, and Josh and Sid. Thank you so much for your donations.
Thank you. And also to note that NAMI Valley of the Sun is approved as a qualifying charitable organization. And what that means is that Arizona allows you to contribute up to $400 individually or $800 jointly to NAMI Valley of the Sun and receive a tax credit against your 2022 tax liability. So in essence, it's the way that you can support our programs and get your money back dollar for dollar. So that's, if that doesn't entice you. Now I have the great pleasure of introducing to you NAMI's Valley of the Sun very own Tracy Eisen. Tracy has participated in our programming. Tracy has trained to facilitate our programming, and now she is on the board of directors for NAMI Valley of the Sun in the position of secretary. Tracy's support of NAMI is invaluable, and her journey is incredible. So if we can do the screenshot to Tracy, and take it away, Tracy.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. I do this without writing anything down, and I promise I'm gonna respect your time and keep it brief, but I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you guys all for being here today. This is so exciting, to see everybody's faces, and I look forward to next year being able to hopefully do things in person where we can all be in the same room safely together again. So my journey starts as a young child, where I was experiencing very severe anxiety attacks as early as at the age of 7 years old. And it continued on throughout my teenage years. And I think one of the worst parts of mental issues, and I really hate the word illness, but I know that's what we call it. I think one of the worst parts of mental illness is how alone you feel, because you're very scared when you're that person going through these things. It's terrifying, and it almost feels like nobody can relate to you. And so for years, it took a long time for me to get diagnosed and get appropriately medicated. I've got several diagnoses now, including 2 different anxiety disorders, major depressive disorder, and ADHD, which I didn't get until I was an adult. It was wild. As a child, my teachers would leave notes on my report card that say, Tracy is very bright, but she stares out the window all day. And had no idea that, that was indicative of something else going on. So in any event, once again, like I said, it's very scary. You feel very alone. And when I'm scared of something, I want to know as much as I can about it. I went to college at ASU, Arizona State University, much like Greg. I also lived in Manzanita, Greg, woo woo, but I'm not too proud of the activities that happened there. And I got a degree in psychology, and I concentrated in behavioral neuroscience because I was so fascinated by the brain. And I think something that people really need to recognize is that mental illness is physical illness. It is a chemical dysfunction. It is not something that's just all in your head and you're crazy and you just have these mental symptoms. So a big part of why I advocate as hard as I do for mental illness and the resources that NAMI has is because I know it's real. I know it's a chemical imbalance, and we really need to treat it as such. It's not something to just go get your nails done, go take a nap, you'll feel better. It's not like that. So in any event, I did that, and then I decided to become a nurse, and I went to nursing school, and I now have my bachelor's in nursing, and I work as a psychiatric nurse. I also became trauma certified, not mental trauma, unfortunately, but physical trauma certified. And so I work now as a psychiatric mental health nurse, and I'm looking to do my board certification in psychiatric mental health nursing. So I'm excited for that. In any event, at one of my lowest points last year, I was really struggling with anxiety and depression, as many of you, I'm sure, have struggled with, related to the pandemic and my extroversion, and I wasn't able to be with people and socialize with people the way that I really thrive on. And I was really looking for resources, and a resource that I direct many of my patients to is their local NAMI affiliate. And I thought, why haven't I looked at my own NAMI affiliate to see if they can be supportive of me? And so I looked it up, and I found the Connections support group. And I thought, oh, what is this? And I joined the Connections support group in April of last year. And I remember introducing myself in the group. We do a 2-minute check-in. Nobody knew who I was. I just sat in there. And when they got to me, I burst into tears. And I just started telling my story as briefly as I could and what I was going through. And I'm not kidding, these people and the facilitator were so wonderful to me. And talk about feeling less alone. I felt like I found people that I could be honest and realistic with, and I wasn't being judged about the anxiety and depression that I was going through. And I thought, this is a free resource that I found. And there were only maybe 15 to 20 people in there. And I thought to myself, why aren't there 300 people in here? Like, how many people could benefit from something like this? Like, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. I'm not stupid. I'm not sick. This is something that happens to many people. And all of a sudden, I had so many new friends and what I would call my chosen family. And after I went to several of these Connections meetings, I thought to myself, I got to get more involved with this organization and try and help with what they've done for me, And so I met with my friend Sheldon. Sheldon and I go way back. We go back to our days working at Mayo Clinic together. He sent me a message because he knew on social media I'm a very big mental health advocate. And he said, hey, have you ever thought about joining a board of directors for NAMI? And I was like, oh, I'm not board of directors material. I can't do that. I have nothing to offer on that level. And then I started meeting board members, and we really started talking. And I thought to myself, how can I help expand this programming and make sure more people know about it and know that it's available? And I thought, all right, I'm going to apply. Maybe they'll like me. Maybe I can do something productive here. And lo and behold, here I am now on this board of directors with the most incredible advocacy team. And I just it's really an honor to be fully transparent with you. I feel very dwarfed by the people that I work with on this team because I feel like they contribute so much to the community. But I also love the fact that I get to be an advocate. And I have to tell you guys, I attend that connection support group weekly. I've missed maybe 2 in the last year since I started. I got married on Tuesday, 2/22/22 this year. Very exciting. I went to support group that night. On my wedding night, I went to support group. I felt fine, but I went to support group because I thought when you feel fine and then you stop doing the things that help you feel fine, it's a big problem, you know? So I continue to go and I just love being a part of this board. And again, my biggest message to everybody out there today is that it's real and mental issues and illness, this pandemic has exacerbated symptoms for many people that maybe didn't even know that they were dealing with these things, you know, and didn't know they had these underlying disorders. And it's so important that we recognize that and we extend that hand where we can. But in order to do that, I know financially it's very difficult right now for everyone. It's difficult for our nonprofit organizations as well. If you can give, we greatly appreciate it. If you can't, spreading the word about our programs and liking our posts on social media, sharing our posts on social media, anything like that is just as supportive because we need to get our word out there and we want people to know we're here for them. We support you. We want you to know that you're not alone in your fight. And it's the same for families. Families that don't know how to deal with these new diagnoses that their loved ones are getting. We have programming for you. We can help educate you. We can help you. So to me, I'm so, again, honored to be a part of this organization and to be able to utilize the resources that are provided for us. And I really appreciate your time and I appreciate everything that all of you have done for this organization. Thank you again for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to direct them in the chat. I would love to email with you and chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And of course, we are more than thrilled to have you as a part of the board. Are you kidding? We don't all have that kind of energy, I'll tell you that much. So we need you to continue to kick us in the behind to get that energetic. So thank you. And thank you for sharing your story. It means a lot to all of us and it's never an easy thing to do, but we really appreciate it. And I would like to just mention that she stepped up to the plate to be the secretary of the board too. So even better, because Lord knows how much we need that assistance. So I would like to take this opportunity, if Julia has had a chance to do some quick math, to see where we're at so far on the pledges. I've been trying to keep up to date here, but
Yes.
I'm no mathematician. So hit it, Julia. What do we
All
at?
right. We have 3,000 now pledged. Thank you so much,
Oh.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for helping us not just meet our hope and our fingers crossed and the daily prayer dances that we've all been making, but actually exceeding that goal. That means so much to us, especially in this time. So thank you. You can continue to spread that word that Tracy talked about. If you have $5 to give, trust me, those $5 actually add up to more than you will ever know. So at this time, our virtual event is going to come to a close, and I would really genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for attending, but thank you to our presenters and especially to the team that pulled this together. I know that it seems like it's an easy thing. We all just get on a Zoom like you do every day, but I promise you there's far more that goes on behind the scenes than what you may know. And I know that these lovely ladies have really kept me in check during this process as well. So thank you all. And last big thank you to our sponsors, Community Connections Consulting, Mercy Care Arizona, Neurocrine Continental, and CarMax. So again, thank you. And I hope that you all stay very well. And Letitia, did you have any final remarks?
I think you said it perfectly, Elisa. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and everybody have a wonderful day and stay well.